Hi, my name is Jake Smith. I do the comic book Blood Force Trauma, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
There's that sound, the loveliest sound around.
It's a special night.
It is a special night.
It's you singing and dancing.
I was doing a little bit of a little jig there. You could feel it through the microphone. That's great. You must be getting better at this.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah. 868 practices.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
In a minute, yeah.
Yeah. I'll get it right around 1,500.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that when Jason and I get our pink slips?
No.
Okay.
Why gotta be a downer going in? Just
Oh my
let it
God.
Hey, everybody. It's 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 868. Yet another in the string of palindrome episodes. I am a giddy Vince B.
Oh my God. They don't know how giddy you are just yet, and I am David A. Price.
This is true. And of course, I'm Superion.
Wow. Cool. You're not Superion, but respect. You're Jason Wood, everybody. Here together for a very special episode brought to you by cheapgraphicnovels.com. Everything you need to know is in that name, cheapgraphicnovels.com. Omnibus editions, collected editions, manga, lots of other stuff too, art books, whatever. If you want to save money on these things, go to cheapgraphicnovels.com because they will have them at much, much less than you can get them for at Amazon. Sorry for the goofy preposition, but I'm a little rusty. And here's what you want to do. You will make an order. Small order, just buy something, because how can you resist this kind of savings? And when you place your order, you'll be greeted by a receipt, an email receipt saying, thank you very much for your order, blah, 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 blah. What you want to do is you want to reply to that email saying, you know what? I would never have known about the grandeur of cheapgraphicnovels.com were it not for 11 O'Clock Comics. And Max will go, oh, ho, ho, my friend. I have something very special for you. You are going to get free shipping on your next order. Who does that? Who gives free shipping? Nobody. Shipping goes up every day, it seems. Like a postage stamp is what? $23 for a postage stamp? This is your savings. It's just another layer of savings. cheapgraphicnovels.com. Just do it.
Do it.
Yes, sir. Oh, boy. This is going to be a barn burner. So I brought stuff to drink.
Snacks? Oh.
No snacks. It's blue raspberry water.
Stuff to drink.
Yeah, I'm drinking it, and it's stuff. Not lying.
Right on.
Yeah.
I too I'm bringing the heat. I got some pink grapefruit Schweppes.
Wow.
Neat.
Mm-hmm.
Is it neat? No ice?
No ice, straight out of the can.
Okay. Yep, neat. All right, then.
I never got
How
ice.
about you, Dap?
I finished the whiskey sour from the Bartesian during our interview, and now I'm just enjoying some water from my fuck around and find out tumbler.
Nice. I will say that I did have a rare evening of some cocktails last night. Shout out to our good friend Mr. Brian Newbury and his wonderful husband Jason, because they were in NYC and I had the great pleasure of hanging out with them, and we went to see a comedy show, and it was good times.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the thick of things, I want to give it on up for another person that is very special to the show. Did y'all know that Cankor Collected Edition has been nominated in the category of Outstanding Collection for the Ignatz Award?
Yeah, the Ignatz, yep.
That's big doings, and muchly deserved. Matthew Allison is a juggernaut. So I thought it was really cool that he was nominated, and he'll probably win. So good going, Matthew. We love him too. And we also love the gentleman you're about to hear. Little guy. I mean, he's obscure. Maybe you heard of him. His name is Daniel Warren Johnson, and he's doing Transformers, and he came to the clubhouse to tell us all about it. So grab something. It's a lot of fun, and we'll meet you back in about an hour and a half. So go have fun. Twilight Zone? All right. Our guest this evening is an Eisner Award-winning creator. How we got lucky enough to snag this dude again is beyond me, but he doesn't need an introduction. All I have to do is say Extremity, Murder Falcon, Beta Ray Bill, Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, do a power bomb. Come on, it's Daniel Warren Johnson.
It's me.
Yes.
Hello. Thanks for having me again.
Well,
How many times have I been on now?
Many.
6 to 8. I don't
It's
know.
like
The guest has to keep count. We don't. We're too busy to keep count.
it's like you either like us or have not much to do. And I know you have a lot to do, so I'm guessing you kind of like us. But for those of you,
I do like you guys. Sorry to interrupt this. I
It's
just
all
need
right.
to make that clear.
thanks. For those of you who don't know, Daniel has a book coming out in October 4th. Is it?
From Skybound?
October 4th, yeah. Whatever
Yes.
that first Wednesday is in October.
It's a little book. It's obscure.
Yeah.
It's
We're talking about it because we want to make sure enough people are aware of it, and it gets a little bit of a push.
Yeah, he decided to do an art piece after selling out commercially for a few years.
right. Oh,
It's a
and
really unknown property. No one's ever heard of this before. It's amazing how I don't know how the hell he got it.
little known franchise called the Transformers. Yeah. Well, I'm going to include that sound. I was going to start the episode with that, by the way, but
Oh.
yeah.
Sorry.
Someone is super happy. I love it.
Yeah, I have to say I'm extremely excited because going in, one of my favorite creators, working on one of my favorite things in the known universe, and I had high hopes. I really did. And I read the issue. You were gracious enough to provide the a preview issue of number 1 for us,
Yep.
and I read it, and it's even better than I hoped it would be.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's
Your opinion matters. Your opinion matters. You are the Transformers fan.
out of the three of us, yeah. Well, yeah, out of the three of us, I
out
would
of the
guess.
three of
Yeah.
Well, can I quickly tell a story that where we were all here for this story, but I was wondering if maybe I could regale it for your listeners.
Yes, please do.
The floor is yours.
I believe it was New York Comic Con. It was a very long table that we were at. It was like the Felix Comic Art dinner or something.
Well,
right?
oh no, I'm sorry. No, we interrupt. It was a long table because where we were sitting, you could almost see Jason at the other end of the table.
Okay, so Jason was not there.
But you had to look really closely because his head was so far up Brian K. Vaughn's ass that
That's right. You guys were giving him a lot of crap for us.
yeah.
You know.
And I got to sit next to Ian. But yes, continue, please.
So while Jason was talking with Brian K. Vaughan very passionately, Vince and David are there right in front of me, and we're all hanging out, and we're just having food, and we're having a great time. And I don't know how it came up, but like I was in contract talks with Transformers, and of course you guys were going to ask me, like, oh, what are you working on? What's after? Do a power bomb, yeah. Even though it had just started, and I was like, I'm actually talking with Skybound. I'm seriously considering doing Transformers, and I saw Vince, his like shoulders like retracted up to his ears, and he starts going. And then it turns to Vince. He goes, "Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy! This is gonna make somebody very happy."
it's true.
I don't know if I've ever seen you so excited. Ever.
That you know what the emotion was genuine because as I said, I absolutely adore your work, and the chance to see you draw Optimus Prime, I mean everything within the Transformers universe. It's almost like one of those things, those internet things, where if you could pick a creator and pair it with any property, what would you do?
Totally.
I would say Daniel Warren Johnson in Transformers.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people that I feel that feels that way.
It's true. And because you give me so much joy, I'm going to hopefully give you a little bit for yourself. Today, I was talking with Josh Bayer.
Oh.
And he's like, my dude, what's up? And I tell him a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I said, oh, we have Daniel Warren Johnson's coming on tonight. And Josh Bayer's exact words, I love that dude.
Hell yeah.
Yep. So there you go. Josh Bayer loves you.
Awesome.
Yeah, isn't it? But it's such an odd pairing, right? But he thinks you're great.
That's great.
My favorite part of that evening was after Daniel tells us what he's working on. Everything on the table starts to like slide towards Daniel because the side where Vince was sitting was like elevating.
That's right.
But I mean, I need to know specifics though, because you came on the show after you told us you revealed the Transformers
That's right,
thing.
I did.
You did on the down low, but I'm guessing that you knew about Void Rivals well before. And the point I'm trying to make is you didn't say anything to us. So you are like a vault. Like if anyone wants to confide in you in with something, you will never release it. Because
I have to be honest. I got to interrupt you really fast. I had no idea about the Void Rivals thing until I was like very, very deep down the contract talks where they kind of revealed how they wanted to reveal that I would even be doing the project. That was all pretty darn far down the line. So I was like super into it. I said it sounds really fun, but I didn't know it was going to be called Void Rivals, and I didn't know that it was going to be. This is a spoiler if you haven't read Void Rivals 1, but I think people have read it by now. I didn't know that Jetfire was going to be the one to show up. And I didn't know that Void Rivals was actually going to be inside the Hasbro Energon Universe. I honestly thought it was like going to be some random creator-owned thing that Robert would have gotten permission, from Hasbro to just include Jetfire randomly, and that would be the announcement. But they're actually going to be these characters that he's developed in Void Rivals will be playing a role in this greater, universe, which I didn't know either. So I've been kind of along for the ride as well, because it's such a huge undertaking by Skybound that I'm, everybody is doing their best, but it's also a little bit like, whoa, okay, this is happening, cool, all right, next thing, okay, oh wow, I didn't know that, cool. So I'm not that much of a vault, but thank you. I should have just lied and said nothing.
Yeah, really,
Absolutely.
You can trust me.
So how was the? All right, so how far ahead is Kirkman on Void Rivals before you start working on Transformers? Because I'm trying to figure out if maybe Kirkman made some changes to the first issue of Void Rivals after he found out what you were going to do with Transformers, or does he kind of give you like a vague outline and then you run with it, or are you wholly in charge of Transformers?
Before I signed on the dotted line, Skybound had a kind of very loose, big outline that they wanted me to. They said, if you were to say yes to this is kind of the outline we wanted you to follow. Okay. So it's like these big, like, because they want Transformers to be going for a while. So there's these like kind of big moments that they want to happen. It's all kind of conceptual, but it's kind of what's in their head, and it's like a very loose boilerplate kind of thing to jump off of for me when beginning to start Transformers. So a lot of the ways that I can get there are completely up to me, but the kind of whole overarching like arc of the Energon universe is something that Robert is a big part of. And he also, I'm like 90% sure what he kind of wrote for us to kind of like gather around is what he pitched Hasbro initially when they tried to get the license. So I think that's a big part of it too, to kind of like stay on with what Robert promised initially. So I don't know exactly how much he had developed, but I know there was like this kind of loose framework that I got when they said, "Hey, here's what we're thinking about, just so you know," and they kind of let me chew on it before I said yes or no.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. But even though you weren't aware of the Void Rivals thing, I have to say, without revealing anything, that the continuity between what has been established in Void Rivals and the first issue of your Transformers series is pretty seamless.
I think so. I think so, and I think a big part of that is, you know, and I will speak in code here, but a big part of the Transformers universe and the Hasbro in the Skybound sense of the word is kind of a desire to return to form, return to the kind of classic elements, and that does kind of lead itself to kind of look at the TV show as a bit of a starting ground. And because of that, we're kind of all on the same page with how we start things for sure. And it just makes it a little easier to just all get on the same page and make things seamless for sure.
Right, right. Going by the preview images that were released, specifically the group of Autobots,
Yep.
when I saw, well, it's out there, so I guess I could say it. When I saw Cliffjumper, I was like, he's out of his damn mind in a wonderful way.
You know, it's so funny. I got a lot of street cred for putting Cliffjumper in there in that starting lineup. I've just always loved drawing Cliffjumper, and it's not really like he's any different than Bumblebee, but I hate drawing those little ringlets on Bumblebee's arms. So,
Well, that explains a lot then.
If you know your Transformers, your physical toy Transformers history, you know that Cliffjumper was just a recolor of Bumblebee.
yep.
So it makes perfect sense. And I was like, he's not using Bumblebee? That's ballsy. But wait a minute. He's using Cliffjumper, which is not the same, but kind of the same. But it just like, it is the left field curve that I expect from you and your work. And I thought it was great. And that was brilliant.
Thank you. I also am a big fan of how Cliffjumper is kind of a fly by the seat of his pants, pull out a gun before saying hello kind of Autobot, which honestly is kind of a fun contrast from like Optimus is like total chill, like we must love our enemies.
Right.
Where Cliffjumper's like, F our enemies. I can't remember if I can swear on this show, but...
Oh, yes, you can.
Okay. Cliffjumper is just, you know, he's just got his gun out all the time, and he's ready to use it. So,
Right.
And I think that's kind of fun. It makes for more conflict, and you know, no offense, Bumblebee fans, but it's just a little more interesting than Bumblebee.
Right. Bumblebee's overused. He's a great character, but I mean, he's in the Transformer stuff. He's everywhere, right?
He is.
I see Cliffjumper as the Raphael to Bumblebee's Donnie.
Sure.
Right. Just to keep it in that same universe. Well, not the same universe, but that same time growing up.
Yep.
Yeah. This issue is going to crack the internet in half. It really is.
You think so?
Yeah.
I can honestly say that wasn't my goal. I was just really trying to make something that like people could love.
It's like an action movie. There's sequences in it where you're either mentally or almost physically, when I was reading it, you're pumping your fists. Like
for sure.
The explosion in the background while one character's slow-mo comes into the foreground. Like I see it. And it's, am I nuts, or is there some pro wrestling moves in this thing?
Oh,
there was definitely there was definitely suplex, but right, a Brock Lesnar style suplex, right?
Yep, right over the head and onto the ground, baby.
Loved it.
It was kind of a challenge too, because I was like, this would be so crazy if I did this, and I was like, wait, why don't I just do this? And then, of course, I spent half of the day trying to figure out how to make two blocky characters look like they're doing a wrestling move.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, it's very kinetic.
Thank you.
Unsurprisingly, that's one of the words I would always use for your stuff. But again, in keeping with the trademark Daniel Warren Johnson approach, these are robots.
Yep.
But yet you still manage to do that trademark Daniel Warren Johnson scene with the feels, and I was like, damn him. And again, not to get too specific, but there's moments where you empathize with these characters, and especially when it concerns characters that we've dragged along with us since childhood, and you see things like what you did happen, and it's like, my goodness, this is powerful stuff. And a little brutal for you, I have to say. One scene was a little bit on the brutal side.
Yeah, well, I will say, I don't want to talk about too much of the plot, but I will say it has been a fun, because, how do I put this? There's a lot of characters in Transformers.
Right.
And, like, a lot. And even as, we're kind of trying to really take our time with introducing this world in the Energon Universe and the different Transformers that happen to show up and, like, the teams that you saw, it's all a little staggered, because we want to, like, I'm not trying to slow roll it, but I want to make things matter, and I want every character to feel important as they appear. So even with all that slow roll and all that kind of, like, intentional pacing, I'm finding that there are just characters that I'm like, well, I just didn't have a chance to really think about this that much. But you kind of get a vibe for what they are, and then you just put the pedal to the metal, because I cannot stand it when I watch, like, a TV show and everybody's just not telling them how they're feeling. Nobody's talking about, like, it's like, because we need to wait for an episode to get to 13 episodes before the characters can really, like, lay it all on the ground. It drives me crazy. So I'm like, what would a character do if he woke up and saw another character, et cetera, et cetera? Well, I mean, what would he do? He would just do exactly what happens in Transformers. Sorry, I know I'm speaking in code.
Right.
You'll know exactly what I mean on October 4th.
Yeah, and I think that's very important that you not reveal any of this issue, which is why, as I usually do, I like to pull preview pages and put them in the gallery for everybody to see, just to whet their appetite, get a little bit of a glimpse as to what they're actually going to be buying when the book comes out. But everybody knows your work. Everybody knows the kind of quality they're going to get. I didn't pull any preview pages because people need to read this issue fresh. You should know nothing to what's going on, because everything in it is a surprise. It's powerful stuff, which leads to my next question. How much creative freedom did you have with picking the teams? Like, say you wanted to use Scorponok as the leader of the Decepticons, and Hasbro would be like, I don't know, I really think you should use Megatron. Like, did they nudge you into certain areas in terms of which characters you chose, or were they completely open on roster?
They were quite open, except for one thing that they did want is they wanted a lady in the Autobot team for sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. And this whole series, especially the first 6 issues, is a bit of a love letter to the original 1986 Transformers cartoon movie. So it just felt really appropriate to pick RC. As far as the rest of the team is concerned, if I can just be totally honest here for a second.
Please.
So, going back to the, okay, there's a lot happening. The Energon Universe, there's a lot of moving pieces. I may or may not get an email, which is like, okay, we need a lineup of, like, Autobots, like, very soon. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what are we thinking? And it's like, oh, well, it's going to be the Autobots and Decepticons that, like, show up in the story. I'm like, cool. Haven't actually written issue 1 yet. But we got to get this out there, So, what I will say is that is a guide, not set in stone. It's kind of a way to kind of show people, like, what I can bring to the table. And if I can also be totally honest, those images drive me crazy, because that was, like, the first thing I ever drew. Like, no interiors, no figuring it out. It was like me just on a big piece of 11x17 paper struggling with them all just, like, standing there looking directly into the camera, and I just wanted to throw myself off the top of my house. Very challenging. But it's okay. Sorry, I just have to say that as an artist, I just have to get that out of my system. It was like my first experience doing that, and it was also, like, a very quick thing. So, I think it looks okay for a marketing point of view, but I'm also like, oh shoot, I want people to see the inside of the issue before I really,
Right.
you know.
I think you need a big chunk of salt with that, because I have seen you at conventions, my man, and people throw obscure characters at you all the time, and you produce some amazing work. So, well, not some, all of it, but yeah, you've pulled like do me ambush bug on a unicorn, and it looks great.
Oh man, I remember the first time I had to draw Voltron at a convention. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
God.
odd that the blocky stuff, the geometric stuff, is a lot harder than the organics.
Oh, dude. Can I talk about that really fast?
Oh hell yeah!
So I'm over here on these like first two reveal covers of the Decepticons and Autobot lineups. I got my parallel pen. I got my microns. I got my ruler out. I mean, I'm like ready to go, because every time that I have had to draw like a truck or a plane or a bus or a van in, like, say, Murder Falcon, I'll pull out a ruler and I won't necessarily pull out my French curve, but I'll have it next to me, and I'll have like a really kind of stiff approach, because I want it to have a kind of I want it to be kind of realistic. I want people to be able to really kind of feel like that section of that illustration when it comes to vehicles and metal things to be solid. And it's one thing, like, I love Michael Golden's work, but the vehicles in that G.I. Joe issue, they're just a little too bendy for me, if that makes sense, you know? So I always am like, I really try not to use the ruler too much, but like I do tighten up. My wrist goes rigid, and I'm really concentrating. So that's what I'm doing for these first few covers on Transformers, and it's not working. I mean, it is not working. Everything's looking a little too stiff. It's looking like I tried a little too hard, and it looks a little too not good. And what I had to kind of figure out is, like, the looser that I am and the more fun, honestly, that I have with the images that I'm making when it comes to blocky stuff, the better it looks. It just looks free.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. I mean, especially like the Seekers, like Starscream and Skywarp, they are so hard to draw just with pencil, you know, trying to get all the shapes right and make everything work. And then you're inking it, and it's like these little subtle lines that just make or break the whole thing, because you're right, it is so blocky, and there's a tendency when drawing mechanical things, and Transformers are mechanical things, to stiffen up, and I'm trying my best to fight that instinct.
Well, none of it looks stiff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
One of the things that really lit a fire under me was, pun intended, Jetfire is close to the top of my favorite Transformers.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and when he appeared in Void Rouse, I was like, all right, this thing is off to a great start. But he's a very complex character visually.
Yes.
There's a lot of interlocking shapes and overlapping things, and the louvers on the chest, and the backpack or the back wing thing itself is, I would imagine, very hard to draw. And it doesn't, I'm looking at your pages right now, it does not look stiff at all. There's awesome. Your line is organic to begin with. That's one of the things we said when Ghost Fleet came out, right? And I was like, one of the main characters in this thing is a truck, and it doesn't look like, you know, you got the T-square and the triangle, and you just like it looks like it was alive, and that was one of the things that really struck me about your work, was everything looks. These Transformers look grown. They don't look like they were bashed out of you know, very rigid metal. I mean, they are, but when you look at them, they look like the believable or semi-organic characters because of your line, man. It's alive.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love that.
No, it's safe to say that this is, you know, I'm not blowing smoke up your butt, but this is, in my estimation, visually the best Transformers has been since Marvel.
Oh, I'd agree with that.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah,
you guys are very kind.
Well, I mean, when you look at the dudes who have done it before, Guido Guidi, I mean, they're all good. Alex Mitley, those guys.
Don Perlin.
The Dreamwave stuff was ridiculously complex and very rigid. And I don't want to say stiff, but the lines were fixed with most of the time, and it was beautiful, but it didn't have that spontaneity to it, that pulse. Your stuff has a pulse, man. I love it.
That means so much because it's like something I've been sweating over, trying to figure out, and it's actually one of the reasons I decided to take the book, because I was like, this would actually be an amazing challenge for me to figure out. Like, I was scared. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. It's one of the hardest things I've had to do, just technically wise, in comics. Like, it's one of the most challenging, not a struggle, like not like unhealthy or anything like that. It just was so hard to figure out. And I'm still like, I'm in the middle of issue 3 right now, drawing.
Knew it.
And I have my good days and I have my bad days. Like, sometimes I feel like I can really get it and the gesture's there and I'm having a great time. And sometimes it's just a struggle.
Right.
But that's the artist's journey.
Yeah, well, it just shows your level of immersion in this thing. You're not gonna just half-ass it. You want everything to be what you desire it to be, and that's amazing. I gotta say, one of my favorite things about this issue, again, not to get into any specifics,
It's cool.
but there's a scene with a hum in the background.
Oh, sure. Yep.
And you just go in with a pink line and just do this undulating row of M's, really fast, really loose. Man, I love that. And you can hear it like, but it's a bassy, low level hum that just trails across the top of the panel. Lesser talents would have pulled out a font, just do a string of M's and just lay it over the art. And like, no, you're in there, dirty, ground level, getting your fingernails gunked up, you throw the M's on there. Like, that's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you so much. It's so awesome to hear you say these things, because you notice these things that I'm just like, I'm so intentional about. Because it's like so. I don't know. I know exactly what people expect when they hear a Transformers comic, and they're like, "What?" Like stiff and like it's robots and 1980s and whatever. I'm like, but it could be so good.
Yeah.
And part of that is the automatopoeia and that free flow. And like, honestly, dude, like that little like the undulating M's, it took me maybe 30 seconds to do.
Perfect.
Maybe less.
Yep.
It got the point across. It makes it compositionally, it just breaks up the monotony of those kind of computer lines in the background just really well. I love the way it looked. And I got to give credit where credit's due. The pink was totally Mike's idea. When I do it, it's just black and white. That was some whiteout that I used on top of all my drawing that I'd done. And Mike just picked the perfect color. Mike Spicer, my colorist, he's just incredible.
Mike's dead on, because the pink on the yellow, that's electric.
Dude.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's electric. Yeah, he did a wonderful job on this. Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep. So
you guys, this is cute. It's nice. It's like you guys were on like a date tonight.
I'm
That's
sorry.
nice.
I mean, jump in.
I'm sorry. Like, we haven't let anybody else say anything.
No, guys.
Check on Tony, please.
I'm so sorry. Jump in.
No,
jump
don't
in.
be sorry. You got that.
Oh man,
you're
dude, this is
your
all
this is your
you.
jam.
It's my dude.
This is perfect.
This is your dude.
Yeah.
You've been waiting almost a year for this, Vince.
I
true.
know. And it's better than I expected.
Of course it is.
But I'm selfish. When I'm given something that I really love, I want a lot of it. So how far are the roots you're putting down on this book? How far are they digging? Are we expecting 12 issues, 24? Like how long are you sticking around?
Okay, so for sure I'll be writing and drawing the first 6.
Okay.
And then that's it for me for art duties. And then I will for sure be sticking around as a writer until issue 12, and then we'll see where life takes us after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have the artist already picked out for 7 through 12?
I don't know. Nobody's actually told me who the artist is. I know there's a short list. I know there's a few people that have been reached out to, but I don't know of anyone specifically that has said either yes or, that they've chosen.
Can I email you a list of names of who I'd not like to see on the book, and you just tell me we're clear?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Simon Kodransky.
Thank you. That's
Done.
number one right there.
Never buying that book again. That's not nice. We can't do that.
It isn't.
That's
it
not
isn't.
nice.
It
No.
isn't.
He's a human being, damn it. He has feelings.
He is.
Yeah.
We both have books that he's drawn in our collection, so.
So, give us a little bit of a fly on the wall view into the whole you and Kirkman hashing this stuff out. I'm assuming that there were incidents where you guys had to sit down there. What are we doing with this? What was that like? What was the enthusiasm level like during those talks?
Well, Robert is a huge fan of Transformers, like huge, and it was actually one of the things I was like, I kind of had to talk to my editor about it, and I was a little bit like, hey, does Robert want to write this? Like, is this something that Robert maybe wants to do?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, he doesn't have time, so on. So I get a call from Robert. Months into the project, months into me, like I'm just about to start writing it, and he's like, hey, if you ever want to bounce off ideas, maybe tackle it together, that'd be really cool. And I'm like, Robert, are you asking me to co-write this with you? He's like, well, if you want to call it that. And I was like, Robert, no, this is not happening. So, I had to kind of like stand my ground a little bit and just be like, I really want to write this myself. I'm totally open to input and ideas, but at the end of the day, I would really like to tackle this on my own. And Robert was great. He was like, you know what? There's a lot of people that would have just told me yes, or just pretended to say yes. He's like, you just told me no flat out. I respect that.
Nice.
James Patterson over here.
So, and one thing, also like going back to all these characters that, I'm trying to get a handle on and writing it, it's essentially like a double team book where you have the Decepticons and the Autobots, and you're trying to give everybody screen time. And I'm definitely keeping like the first 6 issues like pretty close to the chest, so I'm a little like, I guess you could call me territorial, but
Right.
I'd like to think I'm a team player, but maybe I'm not. And then once I start writing and I'm not drawing it, there's an element of letting go that just has to happen naturally. But I'm so in it right now, and it's Transformers is very personal as well. So, I'm having a really good time working on it, and I'm also really respectful of, or I respect the fact that like Robert is a super fan. He knows all of these characters that I don't know. He has all these huge ideas, which are awesome. And he's good for bouncing ideas off of too. So he is the one. He's kind of the orchestrator of these, like the very long scale. What's the word? The long arc. He's got this.
Oh, for sure.
Not this Hail Mary, but he's just really good at making things be good for like a long time, which I'm not good at. I'm like, I'm in and I'm out.
Yeah.
So in that way, he's actually quite talented, and it's good to have him kind of there to kind of rein things in. Like, he's good. He's keeping me on track. They're keeping me on track. I'm doing my best to deliver something that people are excited about. And, there's been at least twice, I think, where Robert has emailed me out of the blue long after I finished the art on Transformer stuff for whatever issue. And he's just he wrote me once at one point. He was like, "This is incredible. This is so special. I'm so excited." Yeah, dude, it was awesome. He was like a little kid emailing me, talking to me about how cool he thought it was, and he's like, "I'm so glad you're on this project. This is incredible." So it's good to get that kind of validation from the co-owner of the company we're working for sure.
Nice. I gotta say, I thought the Void Rivals #1 was extremely well played, because I don't normally read news blurbs and stuff and like CBG or Bleeding Cool. Like I'd stay away from that stuff, and I had no idea going in that it was going to be connected to the Transformers universe. I think the
Oh,
day
nobody did though.
Yeah,
Nobody did.
I think maybe the day it came out, they were like, stuff blew up because obviously people had read it. But going into it, I'm reading. I'm just like, oh, this is fun. I like this whole dichotomy between the two races. This is neat. And then Jetfire pops up, and I'm like, what the frig am I reading? What is this? And it's like,
It's fun.
and you get to the last page, and it's like Energon Universe. This is where we're going with this. It's like, holy crap! Like that was just a masterstroke. But my local comic book guy was like, yeah, wish we knew going in that, and I guess there was a call to retailers at one point, but for whatever reason he wasn't in on it. I don't know the specifics, but he was like, yeah, we'll have reorders and stuff. It'll be cool. But the buzz for that book after like say 5:00 on a Wednesday was crazy. People were going insane for it. And then they revealed the second printing covers with Jetfire. And it's like, whoa. And you could feel that snowball starting to pick up. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Speed. And it's like, and then when we knew, but then when it was, revealed that you were going to be on it, it's just, I think it's going to be a phenomenon. I really do.
Dude, that's so awesome. It's so nice to hear you guys say nice things because the only thing I've heard lately is the Transformers 2005 boards, and they are not fans.
Oh, no. Stay
is that
away
right?
from
Really?
there.
Talk to us about that.
Oh, I thought people would be pretty excited, when the new Transformers comics got announced, and it's just a lot. The majority of people are like, who's this Daniel Warren Johnson guy? He doesn't know how to draw human faces. I don't like the way he draws Optimus. Why is he doing G1 designs? This is not good art.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, they're purists
Guido
over
Guidi
there.
or
It's
nothing.
a good dose of humble salad, guys.
Yeah, I would stay. I used to be a member of that hardcore at one time, and they're purists or loyalists. Like if it deviates even slightly from the established continuity, forget it. I mean, and one of the things that the local owner said, he's like, Daniel Warren Johnson, that's cool. He goes, I'd love to see what he's going to cook up. He goes, but these guys, if it deviates from the template, they go a little crazy. And it's true. The hardcore Transformers guys, if the depiction of the characters isn't that rigid, stiff, adherence to what has been, they get feeling some kind of way, and it's insane. It just makes no sense to me. So what you're saying is
They were screenshotting drawings from the preview. There's like this 4-page preview that dropped, and they're just tearing it apart. And it's like storytelling panels. They will take like a little storytelling panel, which maybe I didn't spend that much time on. They're like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I'm like, I want an Eisner. I'm over on my couch screaming.
Poor
Yeah.
Patty.
It's good that you could weather stuff like that, because that breaks a lot of creators. I mean, once you head into the comments section, that when the old maps of the seas where it says "Here there be monsters," like that's the comments section. You just don't go
Listen,
into.
I mean, we've all been guilty of it. I mean, you guys remember, like way back when we started the show, I took G.I. Joe art to task, and to his credit, Robert Atkins came and found us on the Bullpen Bulletins forum and said, "Hey, I'm one of the artists. I think I do a pretty good job." And I'm like, "All right, respect." I'm like, you're the best of the bunch. I can tell you that.
For real.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, listen.
I think also
Daniel's
I'm out there looking for it. So it's my fault. They completely deserve to have an opinion. That's totally fine.
Oh yeah.
They can be wrong. That's okay.
Uh-huh. I mean, you've worked with Donny Cates. I'm pretty sure your hide is pretty thick.
Yeah.
There was one time I was working on the Ghost Fleet, and I drew that friggin' truck with all the cars, the car carrier truck, that's like overturned on the highway. And Donnie's like, "Oh, it's facing the wrong way. You gotta. I think maybe you might have to redraw that." And I was like, "I'm not redrawing this. I'm not doing it." I spent 2 days on this friggin' thing, and we figured out a way where if we all I had to do was change the the guardrail. I like switched the guardrail around so
lovely.
it wouldn't have.
Oh yeah.
Thank goodness. Oh,
that's brilliant.
man.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
good
So,
deal. Erase the last 2 days from your life.
Oh Jesus.
Good.
I mean, Dan, one thing I think, I mean, it's clear that you're a fan, but like, what was your experience as a kid with Transformers? Because you're a little younger than us, so you were, I don't even know how old you were when, like, the 80s cartoon, but like, where were you in your fandom with Transformers before all this?
let me paint you a picture, okay? I'm sorry. I was first exposed to the Transformers by an ad in a Richie Rich comic from the 90s, the early 90s. I was born in 87, so I missed out on the actual like airing of the cartoon and so on. But in the early 90s, there was like ads in a bunch of like old comic books in the 90s for the VHS edition of the movie. And it was like actually a lineup. Funny that we're talking about Transformers lineups, but it was like a lineup of all the Transformers that you see in the movie. It was different than the animated movie illustration of them shooting into the sky. It actually had like Optimus Prime and stuff on it. And I was like, who the frick is this guy? I got to find out more about this. And I had seen it a few times on television and it really caught my eye. So I found out that it was playing exactly at 4 o'clock every weekday after school. So I'd come home and I'd watch it, and I freaking loved it. I loved the design from the cartoon specifically. And then I remember my grandfather brought me to Toys R Us one time, and usually when he brought me to Toys R Us, like there was some, I was gonna get something, like it was gonna go down. And he's just a generous guy, Italian grandpa. What do you want? Let's get something. And usually it'd be like a Star Wars toy or whatever. But I saw in this aisle, I saw the Transformers, the Optimus Prime figure, with the removable blue hands.
Nice.
And the trailer, and the box art was definitely like American made, but like there was something different about that design aesthetic of the toy that was like really, it just spoke to me. I don't know. I'd like to think that like it was that kind of Japanese aesthetic, like just that cut above when it comes to like toy design that honestly the rest of like Toys R Us just like didn't have.
Yep.
And I was in love. My grandfather bought it for me. I played with that thing every single day, and I brought it to show and tell on first grade, and every day I'd take the bus to school, and we'd have to turn left eventually onto Franklin Street, which went up to my actual elementary school, and it was a pretty steep hill on Franklin. And I remember I had Optimus Prime out, and I had those blue hands, and I was like showing my buds like how I can transform them. And we're just pulling up to the school, but we're going up this steep hill, and I lose the hands. I drop the blue hands on the floor of the bus, and that shit rolls all the way to the back of the bus. And I like trying to get out of my seat, and the bus driver was like, "Sit your ass down!" And I tried to like get him. I'm trying to like, it's like a sea of first graders coming at me as I'm trying to get to the back of the bus. Get over here! Get over here! What are you doing? You can't go back to the back of the bus. I had to leave those hands on the back of the bus. It destroyed me. It destroyed me.
Man.
I don't want to. I mean, like, there are plenty of other horror stories that people have in their childhood. This was a seminal moment for me, guys. It killed me. It killed me. It was like my first real experience with like, I cannot fix this loss. Like, and I was like, went home and I was like, can we buy another Optimus? And my mom was like, no, we cannot.
Yeah, and that was way before eBay, because you couldn't just like fire it up and order 2 hands.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime replacement, whatever. And it's just like this huge. It's just a huge part of my childhood that like sticks out like a sore freaking thumb that I just had to talk about when it comes to Transformers.
That would scar me. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was rough. And I had to play with them without hands for like literally the rest of my childhood. And every time I'd pull them out, I'd be like, "This he looks so dumb."
Yeah.
And that's how I came up with Extremity.
Grab your gun, Prime. Oh wait, you can't. Yeah.
No, you can't. You idiot.
It's nice.
Got no hands. What kind of name?
Calling Prime an
I've
idiot.
never stolen anything in my whole life. Let me start this by saying I've never stolen anything in my whole life. But I went to a friend's house once who had an Optimus
There
Prime,
we
and
go.
he had those hands. And I swear to God, I've never been so close to pocketing something and not looking back. I came so close, guys.
That's amazing.
So anyway, that eventually, my mom would every once in a while would take me to Blockbuster, and that's where I saw the movie, the '86 movie that was on VHS, and I watched Optimus Prime die on delay because I watched it in the '90s and not in '86, and it killed me just like it did every other kid. But there was something again about that movie that was really special, and I could tell there was a difference. Even I don't want to say that my eye was that much developed when I was that young, but like I had seen the show and I saw the movie and I was like, this movie is something special and different even back then. And every time we go to Blockbuster, I try and rent it. I rented it like 4 times, and it's just a huge part of who I am as a person. And seeing like Optimus on like TV and on the movies and the toys and stuff, I'd always try and draw him. And there's that element of geometric harshness that is really difficult to pull off. It's like a robot Homer Simpson. Like all of the relations of the lines have to be exactly right. Like everything has to be in its right place for him to look correct, quote unquote, And it's so challenging because you also like want to have your own personhood to the lines, and you're trying to approach it in a healthy way and not just make it look like boilerplate clip art. And I remember like thinking this as a kid, like if I could draw Optimus Prime, I can draw anything. And I never could. It was so frustrating. And so when I got the call about Transformers, I couldn't help it. Like I didn't say yes right away. It took me a little while to say yes, but I remember going to my sketchbook and I was like, it's time. It's time to really freaking figure this shit out. And I did, man. And I did.
The sweat. Why are those lines smudged? Dude, I'm sweating like crazy.
I sweat.
But the funny thing is, if you adhere to the toy, the proportions of the toy, if you draw Optimus in those proportions, it's going to look wrong. Like he's going to look way too pudgy and bulky up top, right?
And I could tell. I was like, I love this toy, but it's not right.
Oh, nice.
The same thing. Remember Action Fleet? I don't know if you guys are too old for that, but
vaguely.
Action Fleet was a Star Wars thing that the toys. It was like all of the cool, like the X-wing, the Y-wing, the A-wing. It was like about the size of an iPhone, So like you could really like play with them. And I remember I'd get them and I'd examine them and be like, this doesn't look like the movie model. This is bullshit.
Were those Micro Machines? Or Matchbox?
They were it was Micro Machines adjacent. They were like big Micro Machines, which wasn't actually that big. But I remember just getting so frustrated. Like I'd be playing with it, be like, this doesn't look right.
Yeah, it's tough when they deviate from the template. It really is, because you pick it up immediately, right?
Oh yeah, I knew immediately.
Yeah, it feels wrong. Yeah.
So
there's one Optimus. Yeah. I think it's from not Armada, but one of the lines around Armada, probably before, where they just whiffed, and Optimus looks like he has a pot belly, and people hate that figure because it's just it's like pudgy Optimus. Like, okay, here's the leader of the good guys, and looks like he's been sitting on a couch for millennia, just chowing down on lug nuts. Like, what?
Oh, I'm really sorry. David Chase, do you want to add anything?
No, carry on.
You know what? I'm not sorry at all. Damn it! Because
I'm sorry my story took so long to finish.
No, it's good.
Please.
How have you had to inject any of the Joe stuff? Well, I should even ask this question because then it won't be a surprise. But how closely interwoven is the Joe continuity to your at this stage perceptions of what's going on with this Energon universe?
I would say for the most part it's been left my Transformers series has been pretty much left alone. There's definitely a little bit of Joe stuff that happened that I was asked to include, which I'm happy to do.
Yeah.
But I can't say much more without giving it away. But
Right.
I will say there is a little bit of Joe stuff, but I don't think there's an amount that would take away from the story that I'm trying to tell.
Cool. But I have to say, I'm not the biggest Joe fan in the world, but
Nor am I.
I will be buying the series, all of them, Duke, Cobra Commander, like whatever. I'm buying them because, and they should give you more money, because if you didn't draw and write this initial Transformers thing, if it was a lesser talent, I wouldn't even consider buying the Joe stuff. That's weird, right? Because you basically have nothing to do with the Joe stuff, as far as I know. And so the
Not
fact
really,
that
no.
I'll be buying these books just because you were the one that instigated the Transformers series, it's a little crazy, right? But they should still give you more money because you got me, not a Joe fan, to buy the damn things.
Right on, man.
Have they been has Kirkman or Hasbro have they been pretty much hands off, or like in a couple of months you're gonna have to like have some sort of summit to make sure that everything lines up with whatever storylines they're planning on your 12 issues and beyond?
Well, and this is something at San Diego, I was talking with Robert, and I was like, look, I know I've been keeping this first 6 issues close to the chest, but like as soon as this is over, I promise, like I will chill out.
I'll share my toys.
Yeah, he's like, I get it. It's because he says to me, he's like, it's good. It's because you care. So I don't want to hire somebody that
That's
doesn't
true.
care about this. He's like, so when you fight for those things that you're passionate about, I know it's because it's coming from a good place. But no, we really haven't had to do that, or not yet at least. I think that will probably come later. But as of right now, because Void Rivals is, for the most part, still kind of on its own little island, story-wise, and I know that Skybound wants to give Transformers some healthy room to just kind of set the tone and have a story that people can get excited about before kind of introducing anything else. It's kind of given me the freedom to just be able to just plow forward and make something exciting that people will recognize for sure, which I think is something really important to bring back maybe possibly lapsed fans. So there hasn't been too much as far as what else needs to be added as far as the Energon Universe is concerned. It is a challenge working with Hasbro. I have story ideas that I feel very strongly about that, they maybe don't agree with, or, they maybe have, I think, a little bit trouble visualizing some of my crazy ideas that I know that I can pull off. And even everybody in Skybound knows that I can pull off. But because Hasbro is such a huge company and it's this big launch, they want it to be good, and they kind of want to make sure all the ducks are in a row. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to, this is awesome, so let me do it. So I've had to, figure out how to approach that in a way that's healthy and team player vibe. And I've done my best. And there's also been some moments where I've just had to be like, look, in order for the story to work, this has to happen. And I make my case to Skybound, and then Skybound takes my case to Hasbro. And I've won some battles and I've lost some battles, and that's part of the game.
That's good because it inserts a little bit of resiliency to creative process, right? If you're bound by this has to happen, and someone tells you no, and then you seize up, that's not. I mean, your versatility is not that high, right?
Well,
So
I will say I do seize up. I
No.
I go into the fetal position, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna make this work. Oh!
but you make
And
it through.
then eventually I do.
Yeah.
It's like a mourning process. I need a few days where I just feel frustrated. Yeah, and then I come back to it and find a new way to approach it.
Right, but you process it. You do.
I do. I try.
Yeah.
And also, man, it is great fuel for going back and making my own stuff. That's for darn sure.
Nice.
Right. So, and obviously, I mean, you've done Wonder Woman, you've done Beta Ray Bill, so you're not allergic to someone else's property, but would knowing, and this is still relatively still young in its stage, but following this and knowing what you've done as far as mini comics to sell at the cons, if Paramount or Lucas said, hey, you know, are you interested in doing a Trek or Star Wars story, how quickly would you jump on those?
Honestly, I would probably not do them because I know what I would want to do would not be okay with what they want.
Sure, yeah, all right, I get that.
So I mean, just to be totally honest, like I just would probably say no. I mean, I would say
would
yes
you draw
if they
it
said,
if someone else wrote it?
No,
or are you just
no.
beyond that now? You're writing your own stuff now.
I'm just gonna write my own stuff.
Love it. Okay.
If they gave me, what's the word, carte blanche?
Yes,
I don't know
it
how
is.
to actually pronounce it. And I had it kind of in writing that I had final say, or at least a good enough relationship with someone that I'd be like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. Then yes, 100%, I would love to do it, and I'd have a great time. And that's not what Skybound said. Skybound never promised that I would have carte blanche, but the people that I've worked with at Skybound, that I'm working with at Skybound right now, are the people that have worked with me on Murder Falcon and Extremity. So I have a good relationship with them already, and they're people that I trust. So that's probably the only reason why they actually got me to do a Transformers book, because it is a licensed book, which does, as I said, come with its challenges. And you know, challenges that can be creatively frustrating, if I'm just totally honest. But to have that team there in place that I know and is vouching for me and doing their best, we're kind of approaching it with a team mindset. That was a big selling point for me, and it's a big reason why I'm on the book. There's a guy, Sean Makowitz. He was my editor on Extremity, and he was my editor on Murder Falcon, and he ghost edited Do a Powerbomb, where I would send him the scripts and he would kind of give me his feedback and I like this, but this reads a little weird, and pretty low stakes stuff. But it was good to have another official eye that I trusted on this book that I was writing, and we've just developed a solid relationship. And so it was Sean that called me up and said, hey, we're thinking about Transformers and we want you to be on it. And I'm over here like, well, it's a licensed book, but I love Transformers. I've always wanted to draw Optimus Prime for money. But it's a licensed book. And the deciding factor ultimately was Sean Makowitz. So, I don't know. If anybody should be getting paid more money, it's Sean Makowitz.
I have a springboarding off of David's question. We had a discussion on our Slack about licensed characters, and if you had your druthers, who would you pair with what franchise? And I picked one for you, and I said I'm betting that this guy would do a lot to get his hands on this character. So the dust settles on Transformers. Yeah, you even kick out another series of your own, and then you're looking for something to do. Somebody comes to you and says, hey, D-Dubs, how would you like to work on Godzilla? Would you do it?
Well, I am not going to say no, but at the same time, Godzilla and the whole kind of licensing thing, it's not easy.
It's very, dude. Toho's very hard, I heard, to work with.
And, hey, respect. It's their character. They got their vibe, rock and roll, but with that reputation, I just don't think I could.
So I'm shot down in flames because I said yes.
I'm so sorry.
You do it.
Sorry, Toho.
Yeah.
Toho, if you make me promises, we can talk, but...
carte blanche. Any of the rogues you want to use, you can do whatever you want. It's a what if Godzilla story. You can kill off any of them if you want to. It's still probably not.
I would think about it. But if I'm writing and drawing something, I have to love it so much. I have to be so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I can't. I mean, I love Godzilla, but I don't know if I love it enough to draw it.
Okay.
Because that'd be a lot of work. That's a lot of buildings, dude.
This is true. We can't, all of the stories can't take place on Monster Island, right? All right. So those of you taking notes, I was wrong. There you go.
I do love Godzilla, though.
Who doesn't, right? Speaking of money, it's been brought up a couple times.
Sure.
And dragging Jason into the conversation, which means we're talking about original art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This...
So how many of the issues are already sold?
Have they been?
Well, at least
thought
if you
the
were going to
first
sell
one.
complete, I'm sure, right? I mean, that's the Felix comic art move. So
I don't know if issue 1's going to sell complete, because sometimes, if an issue does not sell complete, and I'm like, oh, that's too bad. And Felix is like, don't worry about it. We'll just sell it like the regular way, and we'll probably just do just fine. Yeah. And that's the way it's worked out. So I'm not super worried about it, but it's quite funny. I guess I'm bragging a little, but whatever. I guess
you
I
should
a little bit.
Yeah.
Felix called me and he's like, nobody gives a shit about Transformers art.
Felix said that?
Oh, in so many words, he's just like nobody really. It's the market, Transformers comic art market. It's not hot, He's like, but then you get announced doing Transformers art, and now it's hot.
Of course, good. I was about to question Felix's perceptions there. For
was he? It sounded as if he was trying to just give you a cushion to prepare you for some bad news or something. It's like that was weird.
So
but...
he did when I told him that I was going to do it. He's like, okay. I mean, he totally respected the decision, but he's like, I got to be honest with you, nobody buys Transformers art, and he's like, I'm sure people will buy it because it's you to a point, but also it's Transformers. So just the more you know. And I was like, I totally get it. No, I still want to do it. And he's like, okay, cool. And but then this is like a year later when it got announced, and he reiterated, he's like, nobody likes Transformers art until now.
Now, without naming names, obviously, because I don't want you to share those secrets. Do you know if anyone that Felix reps, if they were ever offered a gig, did they rethink it after Felix told them something similar to what he just told you about Transformers art? If they were going to take something from one of the big two or even their own concept, and not that he's worried about having to sell the art, but has he ever had a conversation with other artists that they decided to not take the job because they wouldn't be able to maybe do as well on the OA side?
Felix has always been honest with me about what he thinks of my project choices. So I can't imagine he's not doing that with other artists. But as far as it, as the result leading to them not doing something or doing something, I can't speak to.
Gotcha.
But I'm sure, Felix talks with all of his artists and gives advice when asked for. And, Felix is also a close friend, and I trust him with he's got his finger on the pulse way better than I could ever have. So when he says something, I kind of perk my ears up and do my best to listen.
Naturally.
Yeah. So, as expected, after looking at this first issue, there's going to be knife fights for these pages.
You think so?
Seriously, they're so beautiful, and you frame the characters in such a great way that it's just like, if you are a fan of not only great art, but of the properties, the characters in these pages. Who wouldn't want to have these on their wall? They're just amazing pages.
Thank you so much, dude.
But I don't know how it works with Felix or with an art rep, but say you had a really special cousin, Jimmy, you grew up with him and he loves your work and he wants to buy a page because he loves Transformers. So how does it work when I don't know if you can promise pages to people and then Felix says, well, we got a guy that wants to buy the whole issue. Does that cause unpleasantness or is it always the default to Felix? Okay, you're going to sell the whole issue as a package, then go ahead. Jimmy's going to have to be SOL.
You know what I tell Jimmy?
I'll draw you.
I call him and I'm like, hey Jimmy, how are you? He's like, hey Dad, how are you doing, man?
Poor Jimmy. It doesn't sound like the comment.
I'm trying to figure out.
You want to come out? You want to come out for dinner tonight? Yeah, man, that'd be awesome. Oh, awesome. Okay, we're going to Korean barbecue. It's gonna be at 7:30. By the way, get in line.
Yeah, poor Jimmy. Oh, sucks to be Jimmy. I knew the conversation was going to go south when you invited him to dinner. That's not good.
Got us off in the blow.
Yeah. Remember that time when you fell off the swing? Well, sorry, you're still not getting the page.
Yeah.
What I will say about Jimmy, or about people that maybe deserve a page that maybe don't get one. I do try my best, as long as things don't sell out too fast, or if an issue gets broken up, to give a piece of original art to my colorist, my letterer, and my editor, if I'm able to. I wasn't able to do it with Wonder Woman, but I've been able to do it with the other projects that I've worked on. And so usually that means I like to break up at least one issue out of however many get sold original art wise. So it's something I try and do is for the people that have worked on the comic for sure. But as far as that's about as far as it goes with special treatment.
Yeah. Do you remember what I said when you told me at that dinner that you told us that you were going to do Transformers?
What did I say?
I said, I don't buy original art, but if you draw Scorponok, I want that page. And so I now bestow upon myself the title of associate editor on whatever issue that was. So I get first chance to get that Scorponok page.
That's great.
Yep. You remember what I did for you. I changed that period. I put a comma in the middle of that sentence. Yeah. All right. I need that page.
Right on, dude.
Yeah. And if it's Black Zarek instead of Scorponok, well then, we are going to have.
Do you know what's so funny is there are people coming out of the woodwork. I mean, coming out of the woodwork. Transformers fans that are just cold emailing me, no introduction. Will Scorponok be in this comic book? No sign off, no intro, no my name is Jed. Nothing. Just
in all caps?
It's not in all caps, thank God. And on Twitter, it's the exact same. Will this character be in the issue 1? I'm like, guys, just read the comic book.
Yeah. Well, Jed has extremely good taste, with the Scorponok, but,
So Jed has emailed me a few times.
Really?
Asking about multiple different characters. And then recently, he sent me an email that is just to be totally honest, I don't really have the time to answer his emails, especially if he does not introduce himself in the email.
Hope he's a listener because you get the answer now.
Are you bringing up the actual email?
I'm not bringing up the actual email because I don't want to seem like I'm making fun of him too bad.
Right.
But if you're gonna just cold email me with no intro or anything. And he just sends another email that's it's 4 paragraphs, and each paragraph is a different random Autobot or Decepticon with a full paragraph of why they should be in the comic. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I can't promise you anything. But I've never heard of any of these characters.
Will Bugley appear in the first issue?
I think
probably not.
I think I know what your next project is, and it's just you drawing your emails out. Because I would love to read these.
What are you gonna do? I admire the passion, but guys, introduce yourself, please.
I could see Felix now.
Hello,
Nobody
etiquette.
buys autobio art. That shit don't sell
Who the hell?
until you.
Harvey Pekar? What the hell?
What is this self-indulgent crap? Oh man, this has been a whole lot of fun.
I'll say.
I hope some of the excitement that listeners have picked up here is contagious, because y'all really got to get out there and get this first issue of Transformers, and then you're going to be mesmerized, just like we were. You need to read it. It is so special.
Yeah, it was a home run. No BS. You know,
LCS.
we're not gonna blow smoke up your ass. It was great.
Thanks, guys.
You killed it, my man.
You got
Thank
killed
you.
it.
I really appreciate it.
I saw you. You canceled New York. Is that because of the Transformers?
Vince.
Are we off the air now? Are we?
No.
No. Oh no. You can. Well, if you can't comment, then you can't comment. That's fine. But yeah.
I was thinking about it, but I think there was something like lost in translation where thinking about it became I'm gonna go. So.
Got it. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
That's it's just a miscommunication.
Sure. That happens a lot. I think.
I will miss you.
I will.
Yes.
So sorry. I should be clear. I'm still gonna be there. I'm just not gonna like have a table.
Oh, great. I won't miss you because
I'll probably have like one signing at the Felix booth. I think Image is doing some stuff. Maybe I'll definitely be doing a signing at like the Skybound booth. And then I'm doing this big. They say it's gonna be big, but it's a signing with like Robert and Josh and myself at Midtown Comics. It's this like big event for the release of Transformers issue 1. So.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Dude, Midtown Comics is not that big. That place is going to be jammed.
You think so?
They usually have a long line of queue. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they have a signing, yeah.
I'm just getting used to having like relatively long lines. It's kind of crazy.
Well,
I was going to say, I mean, I would imagine, we've known you from Jump. It's got to be a different experience now at a con, right? I mean, what is it like now? I suppose it's quite more exhausting than it used to be for you.
I am dead now. I'm like dead, and I'm not complaining. It's amazing, but yeah, you hit it on the nose. Yeah, I am. I'm trying to figure out how to be as how to make it as long. I'm trying to figure out how to obtain longevity in it, because I definitely don't want to burn out, and I also want to give people the absolute most that I can possibly give them, because from the very beginning, I've just kind of always just hung out with people, because people who come up and they talk, and we just talk because nobody cares. And now there's this big line, and I'm like, I still want to make every interaction a positive one, and so it's a challenge. I'm figuring it out slowly, just making sure I don't like party too hard at a con, which I've never really done ever in the first place. But getting a good amount of sleep, getting some exercise in the morning usually works out.
Well, that's a good problem to
Says
have.
the whose last con he was at, he stayed up all night to do a giant Dave Mandel commission. Which looked awesome, by the way. That must have been a trip to give Dave a commission, right? I mean, he's for those who don't know, Dave Mandel, aside from most people know him because he is the creator and showrunner of things like Veep, Plumbers, but he is also on a very short list of people walking the earth in terms of the best comic book art collection. I easily in the top 5, if not higher. And Dan got to do an awesome piece for him in his world famous among art collectors, one of his sketchbooks. So
his Bizarro
must have been pretty
sketchbook.
cool. Yeah.
Well, it was. Can I tell the story really fast?
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So, let me paint for you a picture. I'm at the Eisners, and I'm drawing at the Eisners without shame, because I had so many sketches to do. And the Eisners, I love them, but they are a little, they go a little long. It's fine. It is what it is. But like, I had so much drawing I had to do. I had so many commissions. So I was like, I'm just going to bring my commissions with, drink my Sprite, and like crush these while we go through the in memoriam segment or whatever, because I just have to get it done, you know. And I'm working my butt off, and I was working on a Berserk commission when like they called my name, and I was like, "Good grief! Okay, here we go." And sat back down with the Eisner. I took a picture. It felt amazing, and I kept drawing because I had to.
Wow.
And then I went back to the hotel room because I was pretty exhausted. I wanted to revel, but you know when that like it like just kind of hits you like you can't really be social anymore because you're just so tired.
Yep.
Because I do a little after party, and I said my goodbyes, and I came back to the hotel, and there's Felix with Yams and Lambert, and we're all hanging out, and they're like, "You won!" And we took pictures, and then Felix says, "Okay, all right, settle down. I got something for you." And he sits me down on the couch. He pulls out this monstrosity of a sketchbook. He's like, "Have you heard about the Bizarro sketchbook?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, it's Dave Mandel's sketchbook, but only Bizarro. It's legendary. Like, it is legendary." I was like, "Okay." And he opens up the first page, and it's like Sistine Chapel level Bizarro art on every single page. Simon Bisley, Frank Quietly, like, oh gosh, there's so many A-list names in here. I'm not even gonna bother listing them all because it's incredible. There was like multiple ones where they had like artists had added paper so it would fold out to literally make like a Sistine Chapel like effect of all these alternate Superman characters around the main character of Bizarro, and then included like all of the preliminary sketches that were done and all of this stuff. Is this Frank Quietly, like you could pull out a magnifying glass and still find new detail. I mean, it was insane. We get to the last few pages, everybody's like, wow, taking it all in. And the last few pages are blank, you know, there's not that much left. And Felix leans in and he goes, "No pressure." And I just felt the fire. It was so cool. I don't know what it feels like to be like really good at sports or whatever, but you know, when like kind of like all eyes are on you and it's like the gauntlet's been thrown down, it's like, are you going to rise to the challenge? Man, I was just on fire. It felt so good. It just felt so freaking good because I was like, look at all these legends before that have come before in the sketchbook. Literally, like, that have literally come before, drawn before, careers before, and I get to make my mark along with them. What a freaking honor! It's insane. This is insane.
That's amazing that you could push through the fatigue like that and still climb that mountain. Do you know what I mean?
I got my second wind. My second wind. Also, it was also because I know Felix and the guys quite well, and so seeing them and winning, you know, and like I can just be myself. I don't feel like I need to like put on my game face. I can just, if I'm tired or grumpy, I can be tired or grumpy around them. I don't need to pretend. So that was a big part of it. But then they showed me that sketchbook, and I got the second wind, and I worked for another 2 hours into the night, just laying down the pencils and getting some ink down on this Bizarro sketch. And we actually tried to do screen tone because I did this big like Bizarro Worlds Daily Planet, the Nightly Void behind Bizarro. And it was like super detailed and it was like really busy, but I needed it to kind of like recede a little bit into the background just so that things made sense visually. So I usually use screen tone for that kind of thing, and I'm trying to put it on this sketchbook paper, and it's a big sketchbook. It's like 20 by 14 inches or something. It's something. And I don't even have enough screen tone to really do it. And it's just going to flake off, and people won't be able to flip through it, and I didn't want to do that. So it's like, I really need an airbrush so I can just do a clean, you know. And so Yams, All-Star Yams, went to Blick first thing the next morning and bought me an airbrush. And
wow.
Yeah, and I was like, and it's because I was like, he's like, there's a Blick really close by. I'm gonna go get you an airbrush, and I'll pick it up for you. He got it, and he was wearing a Murder Falcon shirt when he walked into the Blick, and he's like, walks in, and he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for a airbrush," and the guy looks at him, he goes, "I love Murder Falcon."
Shit.
And this guy, his name was Ernie was his name. He's like a big fan of mine, and he was super excited because Yams was like, "Guess what? You're in luck. I need an airbrush for Daniel Warren Johnson."
Love it.
And so we got an airbrush, and Arnie helped us out with that. And but we forgot to buy a ventilator because you can't really airbrush
Oops.
inside. So this is late the next night, like really late Saturday night, and Yams was like, "Okay, let me see what I can figure out." So I'm still working on it, getting the airbrush prep, not using it yet. And Yams comes in, and he's like, "Okay, I made friends with the hotel manager. We're good. We can airbrush outside until 1 a.m."
Damn.
And we took it next to the pool, and we airbrushed it. And so at first, this manager was like, "You got 5 minutes," right? Because he didn't want to deal with it. But then he saw what I was drawing, and he was like, "Take as much time as you need."
Oh, that's nice.
It's so cool. It's like all these different people in all these different corners kind of came together to make it happen. And it's one of my favorite things to ever happen at a convention, and I'm so proud of the piece that I made. It's funny because like on social media or on any digital device, it doesn't really register like how big it is. But like I busted my butt on that freaking commission, and it's like if you get a chance to see it, look for mine. I hope I did that. I hope I did the sketchbook justice.
That is a great
Yeah,
story.
they're beautiful, man. You did them right. You did
So,
them right.
what kind of pressure is it to have this, for all intents, priceless object in your possession?
Well, that's the most intense part, is like making sure it's safe.
Right.
So like I did not. The only time it left my hotel room was when I brought it up to the pool area on the roof to
See, that's
airbrush
giving
it.
me the agita already, talking about
Yeah.
bringing that next to a pool. Like, ugh.
Well, I mean, like the pool was a good 10 feet away. I mean, we didn't bring it anywhere near
Right,
the pool.
but
Like,
what if little Frankie, that's Jimmy's cousin,
At 1 a.m.?
goes in the pool and he comes out and he just like shakes himself off like a dog? Like you cannot plan for every contingency.
All because he wouldn't give Jimmy a page?
Right.
well, you know what? Respect to Dave Mandel for letting that go and trusting
Yeah,
us.
seriously.
But, I don't think he really even wanted to let it go, but I think Felix does have a good track record with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Yams actually, we walked back to the convention on Sunday with it just to get it back, and Yams walked with me, and he like never left my side because like I've never been in a fight before. I need backup.
Well, that's
Yams
a good.
is ready to go. At the
Yeah,
drop of
Yams is a
hat.
good choice. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, people don't fuck with yams.
No, they do not. But yeah, so yeah, you're right. An amazing story. I love telling it because it just makes me so happy.
And what was the reaction when you handed over the sketchbook?
He was pretty jazzed.
Nice.
I mean, like, it was a little hard to tell because he was wearing a mask.
Right.
So, but I saw his like eyes do the upside down dip. And I was like, I think we got it. We got it.
Did you hear the sound too? All right. Let's bring it home on that because I don't think you're going to top it. Love you, but that's a great story.
Right on.
For
I
sure.
So-
appreciate it.
Hey, everybody, get yourselves out there. I'm telling you, it's going to destroy the internet. This thing is going to be monstrous. And
D-Dub breaks the internet.
Daniel, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me on so much, guys. It means a lot. The support, as always. You've been there since the beginning, and I hope you're there for a lot longer.
Hell yeah, man.
It's because you're awesome. We will.
We'll see you in New York, which I'm glad to hear that we will. So
Yeah.
that's
Hell
good.
yeah.
He'll have my
Awesome,
Scorpion
buddy.
page with him. He's going to bring it.
You can always get in line. Oh, he's not drawing. I was gonna say it because he's Heroes next year. Maybe you can get a Scorponok.
Nice.
from Dan.
There you go.
You're the man. Bye, buddy.
All right.
Right.
Be well, Dan.
Have a good night, bud.
Holy smokes. How about that?
You weren't kidding.
It sucks that Jason monopolized the whole damn thing. I
Yeah.
got to get a freaking word in, but
Seriously.
Same.
I
Next time.
extracted the information I needed vis-a-vis Jason's pummeling.
Dap, we needed to ask Dan before the next time he's on what's a safe word so we can know when to take Vince out of the room.
Dude, he was having a good time. Come on.
No, I'm kidding. Of course, you guys were vibing. It was great.
I'm genuinely excited. I mean, this is a
That
once in a lifetime thing.
Vince, it made me smile.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Facts.
He's pushing that needle into the red, the smile zone. Beep, 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 beep. It's a good measurement. Yeah.
Figurative facts.
Wow. Big doings in these parts. We had Daniel Warren Johnson on tonight. Next week is our book of the month.
Yes.
Why don't you tell them about that?
It is none other than Tales to Enlighten 2. By Matt King and a slew of artists. It is a thick book, and bunch of pinups in the back too. But that story, holy crap! It's a lot of fun. I'm not going to do the whole. We're not talking about it tonight, and I'm not going to do the whole compare and contrast. I'm going to enjoy it on its own. Obviously, it does. It's a sequel. You should read the first book before you read the second. But it's a lot of fun. Hopefully, I know our overseas friends and listeners may have been a bitch and a half to get a physical copy. I don't know if anybody went for the digital for the Kickstarter, but if you have it, read along with us. We'll have a good time, and looking forward to it. It's yes, Matt. We know it's a bit of a long time in the making, but we're finally getting it the book of the month. Love it deserves.
Yeah, finally a filthy book of the month.
Yes,
this is my month, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Usually it's Jason's world and we're all just living in it, but this is my month.
No, you had Tony on this month. You got David tonight. You've got the book of the month coming up. It's seriously.
We got something coming up.
Next month because we know what happens.
Birthday.
Yeah. Got something coming up after the book of the month. That's super cool. Yeah, it's a bar. Yeah, it's great. It's just great. But I gotta say, thank goodness that I have my own pocket universe where time doesn't exist that I could go into to read this thing, because it is massive. Massive.
Oh, yeah.
It took me like 4.5 years to properly go through the book. You don't know because I was in the pocket universe, but it was like a snap of the finger and I walked out. But consuming this,
Children of the Vault.
Yeah, consuming this thing, crazy. There's a lot of value
Izon
between
of the
those
Vault.
covers. Nice.
It's a spinoff.
It works for me.
It's run by Chap Yap.
FYI, the local comic dude who is not a huge fan of X-Men or the characters that appeared in this book loved Children of the Vault #1. Said it was like one of the best X-Men books he's read in a while since Hickman left. How about that?
Nice.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Well, we all enjoyed it, so we're not going to push back on that.
No, that's what I'm saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody, we don't want to overstay our welcomes because I think, that was a lot to digest, a lot of fun, but we got to always say, if you enjoyed this, please head on over to our Patreon. Take a look around, see what you see. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics, 11 no apostrophe, audio, massive amounts of audio in terms of runtime. You get like 4-6 hours of audio that everybody else doesn't get to hear. Each and every month, you get images, downloads, videos. Jason loves the videos, and he's very good at it. Mm-hmm. Comic pages, it's crazy. And it's going to be slightly retooled soon. So we'll tell you about that when it happens. But it's going to be awesome. And, hopefully you'll partake. And once again, you got to thank our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com. They have the stuff you want at the stuff you want to pay. Remember, free shipping. You get the email, you respond to the email, 11 o'clock comics sent me, and you get free shipping on your next order. cheapgraphicnovels.com. In your travels. I hope you can hear it in my voice because I was filled with much joy this week reading the books. In fact, I want to tell you all about them, but I'm just going to single one book out because it gave me the most joy this week. And if you were paying attention at the beginning of the episode, the creator introduced this whole thing. And that illustrator is Jake Smith. Remember Jake Smith? We met him at ECCC, He of Blood Force Trauma. And we hung around with him, Dap and I hung around with him for a while. Jason, you were there, or no?
Mm-hmm.
You were, yes.
I mean, you brought him back over to him.
Yes, that's correct. Hell of an illustrator, massive talent. But he drew this book and colored this book, but he didn't write it. You know who wrote this book?
Who?
Headlopper himself, Andrew MacLean.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And no, I'm sorry. Color art was by Carlos Lopez. It's published by IDW. It is nice to be able to read a great Godzilla book again, because this is called Godzilla, War for Humanity, #1. It was amazing, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it starts off, the book begins with Godzilla fighting Hedorah. What is my favorite kaiju of all time? Smog monster.
Yeah.
And this thing starts off with Godzilla fighting the smog monster. It's like, oh my goodness. It begins flashback. It sets the mindset of the main character. There's a little girl named Yuko, and she's with her friend Megumi, and they're traipsing around the Japanese countryside, having fun. When Hedorah appears. And he goes over and he rips the top off a mountain, which was really a dormant volcano. And he starts sucking in the smoke, because smog monsters, smoke, pollution, okay? Lava's raining down all over the place. The girls they're running and they're dodging lava blasts, and they're running for their lives, really. When their savior appears, Godzilla. And he blasts the crap out of Hedorah, and the girls limp home, right? They survive. They're alive. This is great. And here's where the contrast starts. Megumi is greeted by her parents, and they're overjoyed. They're hugging her, and the tears are streaming down their faces. It's all about the love. Our girl's back. We were worried about you. What you would expect should you just have experienced a battle between two colossal monsters and were almost killed, right? But Yuko goes home, and she receives a far different reaction from her mother. Mother's very cold, and mom's like, it's about time. Set the table. And Yuko's kind of crushed, right? So it jumps many years later. Yuko is now a celebrated professor of kaiju studies at UC Berkeley. And she's still dealing with her mother. But she's recruited to join Be Still My Heart, Kaiju Task Force Alpha. It's because there's something very novel and very, very dire going down. She's given a presentation, and this tech bro is in the audience, and he's her nemesis, right? His name is Faison Fulchik. And like many people, he sees Godzilla as a terror, a scourge, right? Very much in contrast to the way she sees Godzilla as a savior. And he's like, look at this. There's a new kaiju on the scene. This thing easily took out Gorosaurus and Manda. It's like a chaos engine. It's this nasty fungus creature. We call it Zoospora, right? It not only defeated these two kaiju, but once it beat the crap out of them, they changed their behavioral patterns. Like Gorosaurus would do a certain thing at a certain time, and they had it in check, right? They would accompany it to wherever it was going, and then it would do the thing, and then it would, in pretty innocuous, like unthreatening type behavior. But after Zoospora got its tendrils in it, these creatures they've changed their behavioral patterns, and that's not good because they're going after urban areas. Loss of life, can't have it, right? So this Zoospora needs to be taken out, and Task Force Alpha believe that they have just the tool to do it. And this the tech bro again. he invented, or he has in his possession, Mogera. You know who Mogera is, or what Mogera is? Are you familiar with your Godzilla mythology?
Nowhere as close as you are, my friend.
Mogera is an acronym for Mobile Operation Godzilla Universal Robot Expert Type, at least as far as this book is concerned. It's a giant robot, right? It was thrown into Godzilla continuity in after. It first appeared in 1957 in The Mysterians, Ishiro Honda's movie, right? And then they injected it into continuity in 1994 in Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. Very, very different design than the original, but similar. Whatever. So the team believes that Zoospora is a fungus. So Mogera is going to use what to destroy it? Fire. At least in theory, right? And then the end of the issue sees Godzilla. He's circling Monster Island. He's not on the island, but he's circling the island. He's like, what's going on? And Godzilla's son, depending on what side of the water you live on, in the United States it was Minya. In Japan it's Manila. So little Godzilla's playing and gets attacked by Ibira. And Godzilla starts throwing down with Ibira, and of course it rips its claw off, but whatever. And the whole fight is used by Fulchik to remind Yuko that her savior is not coming to set things right with Zoospora. That thing that you think is going to save the day, it's fighting some fucking crab lobster thing. He's not coming, so we got to take this creature out ourselves. It was a great issue. It was amazing because if you know Jake Smith's work, cartoony, but not. It's a weird juxtaposition. He's cartoony, but it's very three-dimensional and designy at the same time. Like, this issue was gorgeous. And Andrew MacLean did the cover that I bought. So it's like, where's the downside? There is none. So if you're looking for a great Godzilla book, who isn't? Maybe not Daniel Warren Johnson, I don't know. But get yourselves to a comic shop and get Godzilla War for Humanity #1. It's a miniseries. It is so much fun. I guess Inky Knuckles is doing Jake Smith's pages. And I went to check the price of the Hedorah pages. And I was like, nice, but yeah, don't need them that bad. So great stuff. I love this issue. Just lit my whole world up like a spotlight this week.
I knew where that was going as soon as you said Inky Knuckles.
Yeah, it was the best thing I read all week.
That's awesome.
No, Transformers.
No, I don't know.
No, Transformers #1 was. But
well,
this was good.
Preview.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This was good. Well, I did read it this week, so.
Right. No, you did, but I mean, it's not like they can go out and buy it, whereas they can with the Godzilla book.
Right. So good. Oh.
Wow. Over Fire and Ice, even. Okay.
Oh yeah. No, Fire and Ice was good.
Yeah. No, I don't.
But
yeah. No, I'm not.
This
I'm not
Godzilla thing was just like home run.
For sure.
Every respect, it was a home run.
Love it.
The colors like eye searing. It's great. And atypical color work for a Godzilla book. It's vibrant and bright, and
so that,
like it's beautiful. Yep, I'm done.
I will check it out. In your travels, this I just gave a shot on a whim, and I enjoyed it. Although I am concerned about one of the characters we're introduced to in this book. It is written by Carl Starks. It is illustrated by Jesus Hervas. Color by Yen Nitro. It is Marvel Unleashed, and it is it's sort of kind of just the pets of the Marvel Universe. Our main characters in this first issue are Lucky, of course, Hawkeye's dog, Chewbacca, Captain Marvel's cat, or I'm sorry, Flurkin, D-Dog, who found D-Man's mask at a junkyard and is now a superhero. And she is absolutely my favorite character of the book. And D-Dog is here because they're trying to... she wants to help Juniper, which is a little fluffy dog herself, find Juniper's human. the issue starts off with Lockjaw actually being hunted, and without revealing the outcome of that, we then cut to an alley where Lucky is kind of just looking for some pizza and some garbage cans, but has to get home before the sitter that Kate left Lucky with realizes Lucky is no longer in the house, and that's when D-Dog and Juniper show up, because D-Dog's like, "Hey, Lucky, you work with that Arrow guy, so you should probably you're good for finding clues. You should be able to help us." And Juniper over here, and they do. They go to Juniper's home and go to a kind of a hidden lair, and it's revealed that Juniper's owner may not be the all-around great guy that Juniper thinks he is. We get D-Dog's origin story, which kind of hit me a little bit, and because just the three of them, or D-Dog and Lucky, can't help Juniper on their own, they go to Avengers Mansion, where Jarvis lets them in, and Red Wing is there, as well as Chewbacca, and they and so now all four of them are going along with to help Juniper find her human, and they don't necessarily find him right away. Hijinks ensue, and we get a little bit of some foreshadowing, because quite a big bad appears near the end of the first issue, but Red Wing knows how to take care of that particular issue, and the last page is a pretty funky reveal. Of course, if you've already seen the cover of the second issue, you kind of know where this may be going. But the art's fantastic. This was a lot of fun. Again, I might be a little concerned about one or two of the characters here as the story continues, but I think overall I do trust Kyle, so I'm optimistic. But no, this like I said, it completely almost got by me. Glad I gave it a shot. If you're looking for something to just kind of break up the monotony of everything else going on, comics wise, looking for something a little different, this might scratch that itch. But yeah, in your travels, Marvel Unleashed #1.
I just got the title.
Ha ha.
No, seriously, I'm like, why the frick do they call it Unleashed? And it's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
They're pets. I get it. Yeah.
Co-signed with Depp on that one. I've
Love
always
it.
been a big fan of the Pet Avengers because my boys and I would read the comics, and I really liked how this art style was more realistic. You know, because usually the Pet Avengers we don't like, it's more cartoony. Like Iguara did a couple of the runs and the like. But I really dug it, and like you said, I thought it's Kyle Starks, man. Just another feather in Kyle Starks' phenomenal year. My dude is just on one this year. He's just killing it.
Yeah.
In your travels, I got another one. I'm sure Dap will he'll enjoy it if he ever does read. I don't know that he pre-ordered it, but our boy Koren Shadmi is back with another biographical graphic novel through Humanoids. And by the way, Humanoids now has a imprint, which I'm guessing is because of all these, called Life Drawn. So it's Life Drawn by Humanoids, and the book is All Tomorrow's Parties: The Velvet Underground Story. The biggest compliment I can pay to Koren's work in all of these that he's done the last few years is that, I don't know that any of the people, or in this case peoples, that he's chosen to do biocomics about are people that I particularly care about. And yet, with each one, I've been completely entertained and informed. And so I think that's a real talent, because I don't know that, I very much liked Twilight Zone, but I didn't know that I ever needed to know a ton about Rod Serling, but he did great with that. I think that certainly the same could be said with Bela Lugosi. I just thought he made Bela Lugosi like way more interesting to me than I even knew he would be. And the same thing here with Velvet Underground. I can't profess to be a huge Velvet Underground fan, or certainly wouldn't profess to have like an intimate depth of knowledge about their music history. But being of a certain age, I knew something about them, and I do very much like the whole Andy Warhol ethos. Obviously, Basquiat being one of my dudes. So I certainly was familiar with Velvet Underground on some levels, but this was terrific. This is, again, Shadmi's pretty much and until he does a biographical graphic novel that isn't good, I'm going to assume that every one he puts out, I'm going to buy and enjoy. And this is another. It starts with early teenage Lou Reed being an absolute pain in the ass, and his parents not knowing what to do with him. And I didn't know this. Maybe you guys did. Dude got electroshock therapy. His parents put him through electroshock therapy, like old school, like frying his brain when he was young, which is pretty horrendous. But and it takes us through him and the other members of the group's early days and how they came together, and then meeting Warhol and Nico and really taking up and through the point where Lou quits the band. I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely great. Super, like I said, super educational for me. I knew a little bit of the main highlight points of their story, but I certainly were a lot of things, a lot of the smaller details, nuances of the journey I was not familiar with. And so big thumbs up to Shadmi. He's really carving out a nice niche for himself as the go-to biocomics guy.
Nice.
I know you're not a huge fan of Velvet Underground, Vince.
What are you, nuts?
Oh, I thought you weren't.
I love them.
Not a fan of Shadmi, but yeah.
Wait, no, I thought when I mentioned him, you were like, oh. By the way, I should mention Zappa's in this book.
Of course he is. Mm-hmm. He should be. No, I don't want to get into it. I just the visuals are not my scene.
No, I understand. Yeah, we've talked about that before with the other books.
Yeah. But I can't decry any of the subjects he's chosen to examine. Rod Serling, Bela Lugosi, the Velvets. Come on.
It's your peoples.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did.
We have something to talk about. Because traditionally, I brought up Lou Reed or the Velvets. You'd be like,
Well, I'm not. No, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the music per se, but
right.
I got mad respect for them and their place in history, right? I mean, that's so.
Yeah.
Like Lou Reed's an unbelievably he's a fascinating human being. I mean,
he's very very broken human being.
Totally. And I don't know if you knew. I didn't know he was electroshocked. I mean, that's horrible.
Yes.
So
bisexual,
obviously a chronic drug addict, right?
Yes.
But bisexual and very very just filled with anger for really his entire life.
Yeah,
so.
I hope I didn't say bisexual in a derogatory way. That was not my intent. But
no, you didn't.
As far as a complex individual, that's why I wanted to bring that up. It has no.
Well, yeah, and to your point, I know you were trying to do shorthand just to explain, since you the thing about Lou Reed is he identified as homosexual for a long time, even though there were reports of him also sleeping with women.
Yes.
And he never really identified, he never specifically gave himself a label, right? Because this is what's the 60s and 70s. It wasn't like people were we didn't have proper ontology for how to describe our sexual preferences as much then as we do now. So yeah, but yeah, super super interesting dude. But mostly just because he was filled with anger. I mean, just so much anger all the time about everything. So
yes. I do love the man. Yeah. And they were all really special, right? Even Nico, the ingenue. Let's approach every song in a deadpan, monotone, breathless. I don't even want to say inflection because there's not a whole lot of inflection in her voice. But she was special, gorgeous. But yeah. It was just the right formula for the right time, I think. Mm-hmm. And Andy knew it.
Andy knew it. Andy knew how to make money. Knew how to spend it, too.
Yeah. Greatest of the greats. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for being here with us yet again. We hope you come back next week for our Book of the Month episode. And in the meantime, go to a comic book shop and leave with a giant bag of stuff. And consume it and talk about it and just spread the word on the glory of sequential art, because that's what it's all about, right? And I guess if you have some time left over, hug your loved ones, eat some good food, make your pets happy, and say goodnight. I have no audio bits because I think Jason gets annoyed when I do it.
I don't. That's so ridiculous. It's part of your charm. I love everything about you.
Oh my God.
Aw.
I'm going to melt. Jeez. Is there a mop down here? David.
Good night.
Here's the part where David screws up. Everybody's going to laugh at you. Here's the part where Dave makes a mistake. You're a loser. Was that good?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
You're so good at that.
I'm not. Really not.
No? Aw.
No.
You couldn't be that. David.
Wow. Precision. Tell them. Genuinely.
Love you.
Yes. Tell them you love them.
All the love. It'll be so hard.
That's it for that one.